Hey, come here. Story time. So, one day I was going about my business, and of course, I live in Kingston, Jamaica. And like most metropolitan cities, we have a parking issue. So, when I have to go about my business and run my errands, I go to the city, I park, and then I walk to where I go. This particular day, I was at the bank, and girl was looking cute. I had on a little white dress, and I had my little purse because it's cute, and my phone, and I was going about my business, and bloops, here comes my period. Now, you know how it is when you put on a little white dress, you don't want to wear big underwear because it's a big baggy kind of look. It's a cute look. So I did not have on a big baggy that day. So I rushed to the nearest bathroom right there in the bank. And when I went in there, as heavens will have it, noticed you. So now my period is flowing. I don't have any tissue. I am in my white dress. And remember I told you I parked away from where I was? Guess where my period kit is? In the car. So I have no products either. So the first thought that came into my head was, you know what? Let me just chill out a little bit and wait till somebody else come in the bathroom. Maybe I can beg them a product or something. And as heavens will have it, guess what? Me, one in the bathroom. Nobody came in there. So then I went to my phone. I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna call my friend. Maybe she's somewhere close by. She can come and rescue me. When I called her, I said, Melissa, where are you? She's a whole hour away. I'm like, oh my goodness. Girl, stress out. Period is flowing. I'm wearing white. This was not a big baggy day. And guess what? The closest pharmacy is at least 10 minutes away from where I am. What do I do? You want to know more? Don't go anywhere. As you can probably guess, today we're going to be talking about period poverty right here on Everyday Period. The information shared on Everyday Period is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions or concerns you may have regarding your health or medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you heard on this show. Your health is unique, and only a medical professional can provide personalized guidance. Everyday Period removes the mystery, the stigma, and awkwardness from reproductive health and introduce real, empowering conversations for greater understanding. Hi, I'm Shelly-Ann, and I will be your host and guide as we navigate the murky waters of all things reproductive health. As you probably can guess, this episode we're talking about period poverty. Now, easily defined, period poverty is the inability to afford menstrual products when needed, the lack of reproductive health education and sanitary facilities that creates negative impacts on health, education, and overall well-being. For Jamaican women and girls, cultural stigmas and taboos compound period poverty and causes shame and prevents real open discussions about reproductive health and periods. Today, we are going to examine the toll that period poverty takes on Jamaican women and girls and the men and boys in their lives, yes, because it affects all of us. And we're also going to take a look at what Her Flow Foundation has been doing to help us end period poverty right here in Jamaica. Don't go anywhere. Let's normalize the talk, celebrate the experience, and make periods something we're proud to discuss. Welcome to the conversation. I want to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments about the topic, or if you have a question about reproductive health generally, send us an email at embraceherflow@gmail.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Period TV. And just remember, we are here for you. Everyday Period is brought to you by Her Flow Foundation, empowering Jamaicans one flow at a time. Everyday Period is an Ep3 production. Follow Her Flow on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Her Flow Foundation, and visit our website at embraceherflow.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. When people think about period poverty, they think about something that only affects women and girls. Newsflash, it affects all of us. Yes, sir, you too. So let's look at some of the tolls that period poverty can have on the individuals. The first one is easy, educational barriers. Now, through Her Flow, we do a lot of work in schools. And I have personally gone to over 300 schools right here in Jamaica. And whenever we go to schools, we do surveys. And in those surveys, we're able to ascertain that 40% of Jamaican girls are impacted by period poverty. About 22% of those girls just simply don't go to school when they have their periods because they do not have the products. For those that do go to school, they get very creative and they create different ways to manage their periods. I'm going to tell you about some of them. I met this young lady who told me that she's able to use one menstrual pad for her entire cycle for the 5 days. And she says what she does is that she puts the menstrual pad on and she put a piece of tissue on top of the pad and she'll just discard the tissue each time. So she doesn't change the pad, and if the pad soils, she'll try her best to wash it out as clean as she can, but she knows that she will not be able to get any other product, so she tries to make that one pad last as long as possible. Another student tells me she lives in the country now. I thought was very, very smart. She says she dries banana leaves and she cuts them in strips about the width of her underwear, and then she cleans them off and she used that as a waterproof barrier. And on top of that, she'll put an old fabric, so whether t-shirt or towels, she'll cut them in strips and put on top of the banana leaf, and that acts as the waterproof barrier. And the fabric is what she bleeds on, and that's her menstrual product. I met another young lady who tells me that her teacher buys the big rolls of paper towel, and they have a special way of rolling the paper towel. Now, this is really ingenious. I actually went into the guidance counselor's office and she shows me how she has a way to roll the paper towel that it sits comfortably on the underwear, and that's what a lot of the girls use. Now, all of this might sound foreign to you because the truth is, if you don't have any issue affording your menstrual products, you don't even think of what these kind of things are or even think to do something like this. But that's just because some of us are more privileged than others. So whenever you think of the fact that girls stop from school because they don't have any menstrual products, it really should make you sad. It certainly makes me sad, because our education should not depend on our access to menstrual products. We shouldn't have to force them to choose between going to school and managing their periods. That should not be a thing. So educational consequences is, I think, egregious, and it's something that we can address right away. And that's one of the reasons why Her Flow does so much outreach in schools, because we want to turn that number of 22% of girls who stay away from schools when they have their period to zero, just straight up. All right? Another toll that it has on individuals is also straightforward. It's a health toll. Now, if I go back to that young lady who uses one pad for 5 days, right away you can see opportunities where she might get infections. And it is just not the best practice, because in the pelvic area, lots of activities going on in that area. If you're living in a tropical climate, you're sweating between your legs. You also have urine, you also have feces, and you also have vaginal discharge in addition to your periods that's going on in that general region. And if you are wearing your products too long, or if you're not wearing a proper product that will give you the protection that you need, you are open to possibility of infections. And there are a whole heap of examples of that. And right now, many, many young women and girls are facing the consequences of those infections because they simply are not able to afford or access their menstrual products. And if I think about, I just told you about the educational ramifications, I just told you about the health ramifications, let's talk about the person, the individual, how they feel about themselves, the self-esteem. Now, through my work with Her Flow, we have been able to see the positive impact of having products available to students and how it improves their overall quality of life as well as their educational prospects. We get reports from teachers who tell us straight up that, listen, this girl was in class and she had behavioral issues, she don't listen, she talks back, she gives a lot of challenges. Now she has menstrual products, she pays attention, she shows up, she's attentive, she is doing her work, she has self-esteem, the way she walks is different, she speaks with more confidence. And all that positive impact comes from solving one problem, ensuring that she has the products she needs every single month. And that's one of the reasons why I am personally advocating for free menstrual products to be available in every single school, so that we do not have this conversation where we're talking about students not being in schools because of their periods, right? Now, one of the things that I really want to talk about as well is the productivity. Now, believe it or not, some of the women who are impacted by period poverty are employed. Yeah, that don't make sense, Shelly. What do you mean them employed and them can't buy the menstrual product? You ever hear about a thing named Brock? Yes, Brock is a thing. Remember that there are a lot of persons who live on a very tight budget. And sometimes all it takes to derail your budget is an unplanned expense. A child could get sick. You could get sick. You could lose your job. You could lose one of your jobs. We know some of y'all work in several jobs. The economy is what it is. We understand. And so you really want to ensure that there are spaces where women can access free menstrual products, because sometimes for them, it comes down to the last $500 that they have and feeding their child. Which mother is going to buy menstrual pad or food for her child? Sometimes that's the choice that she has to make. So we really have to recognize that employed women can experience period poverty too. And how great would it be if offices had free menstrual products right there in their bathroom for their staff? Lots of us have our period at work. And sometimes when you're at work and your period starts, you have to stop what you're doing, rush out to go find a pharmacy. You spend an hour on the road because traffic is trafficking. And then by the time you get back, you have lost all of that productive time. So CEOs, step forward. What if you provide free menstrual products for your staff? How much productive time will you save? I wonder if I think about that. Or even better, if you were to provide free menstrual products in your bathroom for your staff, watch how much money you save on tissue. Because believe it or not, on those days when your period starts unexpectedly, your staff goes into the bathroom and she takes the tissue and she goes so. Because what she does is she uses it to make a makeshift product to use until she can get herself a proper product. Think about that. All right? So let's look at the toll that period poverty can have on a community and society overall. Now, I don't need to tell you that when we empower women and girls, we empower communities. When women cannot go to work, it affects their ability to take care of themselves and their families. We are still the main caregivers. We are still not only caring for ourselves, but we're also caring for our children. We're caring for family members, sometimes sick relatives, sometimes elderly relatives. And if we are unable to go out and get that job, what if on that day when we're supposed to do that job interview, here comes a period? Do you think that candidate will be able to go to that interview and sit in front of a prospective employer bleeding on them good upholstery? Can you imagine the kind of angst and anxiousness that's going through the body of that person while they're trying to answer a question that will get them the job that they need to pay for their life and feed their family, and they're bleeding at the same time? Do you think they'll get the job? My point is, period poverty has overreaching impacts, and it certainly affects the person's ability to be employed. That's just what we're talking about. Also, if we look at gender inequality, now I know those two words are offensive to a lot of people and they don't think that genders are equal because men and women are not the same. That's not what gender equality means, and y'all know it. We're talking about equality of opportunity. It should not be a case where, as I just told you about, the woman who has the job interview and has a period, the man who has a job interview doesn't even have to think about the period. He can go and do his interview. He doesn't have to worry about if he's going to bleed on the upholstery. He doesn't have to worry about his chances because of period. And that is where the inequality is. And it's not a fault thing because he can't help the fact that he doesn't have periods, just like how she can't help the fact that she does. But in a society where we have period poverty, what if there was a space where she could go run up to the clinic up the road, get a free menstrual product, put on a product and go do a job interview? That will be a thing, wouldn't it? As we talk about clinics, clinics have free condoms, as they should. And having free condoms was a policy decision that was made because the problem of HIV infection and STD infection was spreading. And as a policy decision, governments around the world decided that they were going to put these steps in place to prevent the spread of HIV. All we need to do the same for period poverty is to have government decide that this is a problem that they want to solve. That's all we're talking about. Because if it's a problem, they will find a solution. So it's not a question of resources, it's a question of priorities, and it's a question of intention, and it's a question of whether or not you value half the population of this country. Because that's the only thing stopping us from ending period poverty on a policy level. Now, social stigma is a really big hurdle in how we address period poverty. And social stigma is not just the fact that, generally speaking, we think about people who are experiencing poverty in a very negative way. A lot of people believe that, well, they're poor because of their choices, or they're poor because of their actions. And while there might be some truth in that, sometimes the poverty starts from a space where you had no choice in it. You have no choice about who your parents are or how rich your parents are when you come into the world. You also have no choice in an environment that sees period as such a negative thing, where you cannot even go and seek help, go and ask somebody to assist you. I remember this lady called me quite upset, saying to me, "Shelly, you need to do something about these young girls." I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, I met a young girl and she's going to man asking them for money to buy menstrual products." I said, "Okay." And the man, some of these men, them just said to them, "Well, if you want money, you have to do this and that for me." I said, and in that scenario that you just described to me, the problem is the girl. Because if you are a grown man, who a little girl comes to you and asks you for money to buy menstrual products, and your response to her is, "In order for me to give you the money, you need to do something for me," sir, that's a you problem. You are the issue there. Because if we live in a community where we can go to different adults, or where the children cannot go to the adults and ask them for help, what are we talking about? So social stigma is a real issue as it relates to period poverty as well. And if as a society, we don't get up and decide that we're going to help solve this problem, we also will not get to a solution. All right? I am so happy to report that through my foundation, Her Flow, we have gotten the support of lots of people in the community who have donated menstrual products. And that's how we have been able to donate about 10 million products right across Jamaica to people who need it. Because we are committed to ensuring that every single Jamaican has access to dignified periods. It is so important. All right? Okay. So period poverty is not just a Jamaica thing. Believe it or not, people around the world are affected by period poverty. 1 in 5 women around the world are impacted by period poverty, sometimes on a temporary basis, sometimes over a longer period of time. Because believe it or not, period poverty is not a permanent situation. You can be experiencing it this month you're broke, this month your finances are where they are. You can get support from somewhere, you can get that job, and then from then on you'll be able to manage your period. It happens all the time, which is one of the things that period poverty shows us, is that we can do something about it to help someone to the point where they can help themselves. And that is the reason why we continue to push so that period poverty is permanently addressed. Now, one of the things that I really want to point out about the inequality and the cultural stigma around periods and menstruation is that it amplifies period poverty. And what that means is, when persons have to deal with the stigma and the taboo around periods, it prevents them from getting the help they need. I'll give you an example. several different schools I've gone to, and we're distributing menstrual products, and the girls refuse to take them. They don't want to be seen taking them. They don't want anybody to say anything. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They find the entire experience to be very, very embarrassing. And what they would do is come to me one away, come over to my car, and hold up their bag like this and say, "Miss, just drop it in the bag." And I just drop it in the bag and then zip up the bag real quick and walk away as if nothing happened. Because that is driven by cultural stigma. We still, in this culture, talk about periods by using words like unclean, by still talk about periods by using words like nasty, still talk about periods by saying things like men not supposed to be exposed to periods. My great-grandmother said to me when I just had my period, she said, "Nobody should experience your period." I never forgot that. And what she means by that is, if you're a man and you go into a bathroom that a woman is using and you see any sign that she has her period, it's offensive. Now, I love my great-grandmother dearly, and I think she's one of the smartest women I've ever known. But that piece of advice, I think, is problematic, and I think is part of what drives this continuous culture of shame. So I say, the jig is up, the secret is out, women and girls have period, and the men know. And sir, if you find yourself in a situation where you find periods offensive, don't live with women and girls. We come with period, we're a package deal. So if you live in the house with her, you're gonna see menstrual products in the bathroom. You're going to probably go in the bathroom and see a spot of blood on the floor. Your cue there is to not go outside and complain, it's to grab a mop and proceed. Okay? Period is life, it's necessary, it's a part of how we reproduce, and it's the reason why we exist. We cannot exist without period. Everyday Period is brought to you by Herflow Foundation. The Herflow Foundation is dedicated to improving menstrual health and addressing key social issues affecting women and girls in Jamaica. Through advocacy, education, and direct support, Herflow works to break the stigma surrounding menstruation and empower women to live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Herflow's flagship project is to end period poverty in Jamaica. Since inception, Herflow has donated over 9 million menstrual products to Jamaicans in need. To learn more about Herflow, please visit embraceherflow.com. Wait, but I didn't tell you what happened to me in the bathroom. So, come back with me. In the bathroom, in my white dress. Period start. Period of flow. Fenke panty. Really, really terrified. My friend is an hour away. My car park way down there, so what did I do? Well, I just try to, hold it, kegels. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Apply the pelvic floor. So I held it a little bit. Step out of the bathroom and look to see if I see anybody that saw a lady walking. And I say, hi, come here, friend. Now, I have this personality that I talk to strangers all the time, and I'm very nice to people generally. So I just tap into my personality because I was going to beg her the biggest favor ever. First of all, I said to her, "You have a pad or something I can borrow?" She said, "No, my dear, I stopped to them something a long time." I said, "All right, well, this is my situation. You can just go over to the pharmacy and buy a pack of pad for me. I'll give you the money and everything." She said, all right, me help you out. And we give her the money and waited what felt like an eternity for this lady to come back. No, I wasn't even sure she was going to come back, I was kind of hoping that she comes back, because why she couldn't just take my money and leave? That's a thing, that's a possibility. But this was a nice lady. And she went to the pharmacy and she bought a pack of pads and a pack of tissue, and she came back to me. I didn't tell her to buy tissue, but she thought about it, which I was very happy for her, because remember I told you, not tissue not in the bathroom, right? So she bring back everything. Wasn't the pad that I like? Again, not complaining about this, because I know, say, my situation already dire. So, get my little tissue, get my pad, thanked her immensely. I think I even gave her a tip, because I was so grateful. And I just go so now and fix up myself and got on with my day. Now, for women and girls who go through period poverty, they do not have this option. And that's one of the reasons why I emphasize. And I try to work as much as I can to ensure that menstrual products are available for every Jamaican who needs it. Hey, Everyday Period fam! If you're loving these real, unfiltered conversations about reproductive health, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Join the movement by liking, sharing, or dropping your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Let's keep breaking the stigma and spreading the knowledge. Periods don't stop, and neither do we. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Herflow Foundation. Welcome back. We've been talking about period poverty. I already told you about the toll that it takes on persons who are impacted by it. But let's talk specifically about consequences that Jamaican students face when they are impacted by period poverty. Now, I already said that 22% of girls miss school when they have their period because they simply don't have the products. But really, what does that mean? It means now their education is impacted. On the days that they miss school, it might be important exams happening on those days. On the days that they miss school, the lessons that are being taught on those days, they are not able to participate. This can also increase in the dropout rate of some of these girls. They just don't go back, right? And then some of them, when they are at home, away from school, they find themselves in all sorts of activities that can get them into even more negative circumstances. So we really want to ensure that we minimize these sort of scenarios, and we can do that by making menstrual products available, right? The stigma and shame, I talk a lot about that because it is really, really prevalent in our culture. What happens to a girl that messes up her clothes as a result of period poverty? I've heard so many stories from girls who tells me that they're on a bus and they're coming off the bus and then somebody says to them, hey, you mess up your clothes. And then when they turn around, the whole bus want to know why they don't clean up after themselves. And they are mortified. Some of these are children. I've spoken to little girls whose periods start for the first time they're having their periods on a public bus. And the adults on the bus say the most egregious things to her, want to know if her mother don't teach her things and why she's so nasty. And they say the worst possible things to her. What do you think that does to her self-esteem? The whole experience is so traumatic that this is a feeling that she associates with having a period, an experience that she's going to be having for most of her life. So if we, as a culture, as a community, don't rethink the way we handle periods, the way we talk about periods, we are going to continue to negatively impact little girls who are having their periods for the first time, right? Period poverty also amplifies bullying in schools. I go to schools and I see a very, very negative activity, and I'm happy to say that for the most part we have dealt with it. But what I see happen is boys will go into girls' bags and take out their pouches that they have the little period products in, and they tear it apart, and they throw it around, and they laugh and they giggle and they think it's funny. And with us including the boys in the classroom, having them participate in period sessions, I'm happy to report that based on the feedback from guidance counselors across Jamaica, they have said that that behavior has stopped. As a matter of fact, I feel a little proud of this. A teacher called me one time talking about a fight that just happened in the school, and two boys were fighting, and when they break up the fight, one older boy was fighting a younger boy. The older boy, he started the fight. So the teacher was like, why you beat him up? And he said, he was taking out the little girl, call her Keisha. He was taking out Keisha's things out of her bag and throwing it around like him don't have mother too. Him don't have mother? No. Personally, I don't condone the violence, but I was very impressed by his protective nature to defend the little girl from something bad that the other boy was doing. And that is the reason why we continue to involve boys in conversations around periods, because they share spaces with girls. They have women in their lives that they love. They have girls in their lives that they love. They have sisters, they have friends, they have cousins, and they can be a great support system for girls who are going through periods and as you can see, defend them when their honor is on the line. So I'm very, very excited that we have pioneered lessons and insisting that the boys participated in these lessons as it relates to periods generally and period poverty as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Join the movement by liking, sharing, or dropping your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Let's keep breaking the stigma and spreading the knowledge. Periods don't stop, and neither do we. So what can we do about period poverty? Well, I've already told you, we have started. Through Her Flow Foundation, we have been able to not just provide menstrual products, but we teach hundreds of reproductive health workshops in schools, in community centers, to service clubs, to different spaces where the information is necessary. And we intend to continue that work. We intend to amplify that work. But one of the biggest things that I personally would love to see happen right here in Jamaica, and by extension across the Caribbean, is for our government to see period poverty as a problem that requires their intervention and budget to solve. If we look at what happens in countries around the world like Scotland, that has enacted laws to ensure that period products are available to every citizen who needs it, that is where I would love to see us go. I would love to see Jamaica enact laws that ensures that menstrual products are free to every Jamaican who needs it. But I know that's not going to happen in one foul sweep, so I have a plan. My first step is I would like to see free menstrual products in public schools for every single Jamaican student across the board, from primary to secondary to tertiary education. No student should ever stop from school because they do not have access to menstrual products. That should just be solved one time. Another space where I would put free menstrual products is clinics. We have over 300 clinics right across the island, and we know that we can't just put them in every single public bathroom right away because, some people misbehave, but we can put them in clinics, and similar to condoms, they can go into the clinics and collect their menstrual products for free when they need it. So I think that's an immediate low-hanging fruit. But me, I don't just dream small. My dream big. I don't aim for the sky when Pluto is out there. So I go straight up to Pluto, right? My point is, I would like to see free menstrual products in every single public bathroom right across Jamaica and right across the Caribbean. You go into a bathroom, there's a tissue, there's a dispenser for tissue, there should be a dispenser for menstrual products as well, for free. That is what I would like to see. So it's very important that we understand the need that period poverty provides and how we can solve that need. Another thing that I want to see is that comprehensive reproductive health education should be made mandatory on every single curriculum right across education. From elementary school, of course, it's going to be age appropriate. High school, same thing. Tertiary institutions, same thing. And we should be able to speak factually and clearly to students and let them understand what it is that we're looking at when we talk about reproductive health. Of course, we're going to cover period, we're going to cover sex, we're going to cover STDs, we're going to cover things like different infections that can happen as a result of bad hygiene or that can happen as a result of irresponsible sexual choices and how they can tell the difference with the symptoms and all of those kind of things. I do not believe that keeping children ignorant is the way to protect them. Ignorance never is the answer when the question is, well, whatever the question is, ignorance is never the answer, all right? So personally, those are the things that I would like to see us do to end period poverty in Jamaica and by extension the Caribbean. But I want to ask you, what are some of the things you would like to see happen to end period poverty in your space? Put the comment where the comment section is. And now it's time for Ask the Period Lady. And of course, this is my favorite. Yes, I said favorite. This is my favorite part of the show when I hear from you. So I have a question from Andrea. Let's see what the question is. She says, My son was part of one of your period sessions at his school. Yay! I initially would not have agreed to him participating, but he doesn't seem to mind. Why did you choose to include boys in the session? And what can I do as a parent to help the cause? Well, first of all, thank you for that question. I think it's such a great question. And I love the fact that even though you were hesitant to allow him to participate, you saw how he could benefit. And you are not alone. Lots of mothers think this way. They do not want their sons to participate in any period session, especially since I make them handle panties and menstrual products. Whose idea was it, by the way, for men to be afraid of panties? Anyway, let's focus. So, why do I include boys in the sessions about period? Thank you for that question. Let me tell you very simply. Boys share the world with girls. Lots of them are in classes with girls. They sit beside them. They are friends with them. Some of them have sisters. They have you as their mother. They came from your body. Period made it possible for them to exist. Of course they should know about it. Of course men should know about it. So if your husband or your man, the father of your son, doesn't know about your periods, fix that. Show him what you have to go through. Yes, show him everything. Traumatize him, he'll be fine. My point is, as long as we continue to hide period from men and boys, we will continue to amplify the stigma and shame around periods. And it's time for us to stop doing that. They already know. They know we have periods. They know that for some time in the month, we're a little bit more miserable is what they describe it as than others. And the truth is, let me talk about that miserable comment for a second. Nobody is great company when they're in pain. She's not miserable, she's in pain. Her body hurt her. And therefore, she does not want to have conversation with you right now about your favorite football team and why they did lose the match. Because her uterus is plotting a coup against the rest of her body. Okay? So the reason why I include boys is because not only are they a great support system for the people that they care about, but they can also help us to eradicate the stigma and shame associated with periods. My experience with boys when we expose them to periods is that they are absolutely open. They want to know how they can help. They are very empathetic. They have questions. They want to learn more. They have no issues at all learning about periods. Most of them are very curious. When you give them the product and they hold it, they want to know, then miss, this feels like a diaper. Is this a diaper? You have diaper for grown-ups? And they have all the questions. They're very, very excited to participate. And I will continue to include them in the conversations about period because it is very important. Also include the men. What can you do as a parent? Tell him about your experience. Expose him to what it is that you have to go through every single month to manage your period. Now, you might not want to give him the tour that you'll give your partner, but give him enough information that he can be helpful to you and the other women in his life. All right? Thank you so much for your question. Continue to send your questions to Ask the Period Lady at embraceherflow@gmail.com, and we'll definitely make sure that we answer them for you right here on Everyday Period. Everyday Period is brought to you by Herflow Foundation. The Herflow Foundation is dedicated to improving menstrual health and addressing key social issues affecting women and girls in Jamaica. Through advocacy, education, and direct support, Herflow works to break the stigma surrounding menstruation and empower women to live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Herflow's flagship project is to end the period poverty in Jamaica. Since inception, Herflow has donated over 9 million menstrual products to Jamaicans in need. To learn more about Herflow, please visit embraceherflow.com. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Everyday Period. And as we get out of here, I just want to remind you that reproductive health is not just about period or pregnancy. It's about how we take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, or even socially as we go through our life. Remember, from puberty to menopause, reproductive health is a massive part of our lives and it comes with its own challenges. So make sure that you are kind to yourself and each other. Until next time, take care of yourself Help us end period poverty. Visit Her Flow and help us continue to make Jamaicans have dignified periods. See you next time. I am Shelly-Ann. Take care. Walk good. If you want to get in touch after the show, send your questions or comments to embraceherflow@gmail.com. Until next time, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Period TV. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Herflow Foundation. Our website is embraceherflow.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks to our production team, Ep3 and Digital Pro, for the great support, and thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Take care. Walk good.